They thought they won. They thought they permanently altered the trajectory of your life. They thought they broke you. They thought they silenced you. They thought they delayed what was meant for you. They thought they collapsed your reality and permanently assigned your future to your devastation. They were wrong. There is something they could not see while they were looking at what they destroyed. Your soul wasn't done. God wasn't done. And your story wasn't done. There are things unfolding for you right now that were never assigned to your devastation. There are doors opening that have been waiting for your arrival. There are prayers being answered that devastation was never given permission to interrupt. There are blessings making their way toward you that can't be stopped, because your future never belonged to your devastation. You have spent enough time staring at what happened. You have spent enough time grieving what was lost. You have spent enough time wondering whether what happened to you permanently altered the rest of your life. But what if we've been asking the wrong question all along? The question was never, what did this take from me? The question is, what survived? Because there are things that survived this chapter that you have not even begun to discover yet. Your purpose survived. Your light survived. Your future survived. Your joy survived. Your prayers survived. Your destiny survived. And perhaps most importantly of all, your soul survived. You are still here. And that matters more than you know. Because if your soul was still meant to be here, then perhaps there are still things with your name on them that heaven never reassigned, simply because your journey became difficult. What happened to you does not have to have the final word over your life. And it does not get to become the author of everything that follows. Devastation doesn't get to have the final word over your life. What was meant for harm will not have the final word. Read that sentence again. What was meant for harm will not have the final word. It's been such a difficult and long season in your life that you may have come to expect disappointment before beautiful surprises, rejection before opportunities, closed doors, or you may have even come to expect unanswered prayers. Because after everything you've been through, it may have been hard to have hope. And this isn't a season of merely surviving anymore. For some of you, this is a season of divine alignment. And divine alignment doesn't always announce itself all at once. Sometimes it arrives quietly. An unexpected phone call, an unexpected opportunity, an unexpected relationship, an unexpected answer to a prayer you stopped praying because you became too exhausted to believe it would ever happen. Sometimes divine alignment looks like realizing that your story was still unfolding, even in the hardest seasons of your life. While you were surviving, life was still unfolding. While you were wondering whether anything beautiful would ever happen for you again, life was still unfolding. And isn't that extraordinary to think about? That while you were busy wondering whether this was the end of the story, God was still writing chapters you hadn't yet read. The people, circumstances, and experiences that tried to alter the trajectory of your life were looking at your destruction. God was looking at your future. They were looking at what collapsed. God was looking at what would survive. They were looking at closed doors. God was preparing open doors. They thought they had delayed your destiny. They didn't. They thought they permanently altered the trajectory of your life. They didn't. They thought they buried your joy. They didn't. They thought they silenced your story. They didn't. Because your soul wasn't done. And I wonder how many beautiful things are waiting for you on the other side of believing that sentence. Your soul wasn't done. Say it again. Your soul wasn't done. Because there are some of you listening to this who have unknowingly been living as though what happened won. You've been waiting for permission to dream again. Permission to expect again. Permission to become excited about your future again. Your future did not end here. Your joy did not end here. Your purpose did not end here. And neither did the beautiful things waiting for you. I want you to imagine for a moment that 1 year from now, your life looks nothing like it does today. Not because every difficulty magically disappeared overnight, but because door after door began opening, because unexpected opportunities began arriving, because prayers began receiving answers you never could have anticipated, because life began turning around in ways you could not have orchestrated yourself. And perhaps one day you'll look back on this season and realize that while you thought everything was falling apart, there were things quietly falling into place. There were prayers being answered that you could not yet see. There were doors opening that you did not yet know existed. There were blessings making their way toward you that had never been assigned to your devastation. And all this time, your future was still unfolding. This chapter matters, but it isn't all that exists. There are still chapters that have not yet introduced themselves to you, because despite everything that has happened, there are still beautiful things with your name on them. What happened was real. But so is what is unfolding. The difficult chapter was real. But so is divine restoration. The closed doors were real. But so are the ones opening now. Because divine restoration is watching your life turn around in unexpected ways. It's watching your life bloom in places you thought had been destroyed. It's watching prayers become reality. It's watching peace find its way back home to you. It's watching joy return unexpectedly. It's realizing that while everyone else was staring at the ashes, something sacred was still unfolding beneath them. And perhaps that's what I want to leave you with today. They thought they won. They didn't. They thought they had the final word over your story. They didn't. They thought your devastation inherited your future. It didn't. And if this video reminded you that your story isn't over, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and share it with someone who may have forgotten that there are still beautiful things with their name on them. There are still beautiful things waiting for you that were never assigned to your devastation. There are still prayers waiting to become answered. There are still open doors waiting to become walked through. There are still blessings waiting to become received. And there are still chapters of your story that have yet to be written. What was meant for harm will not have the final word, because your soul wasn't done, God wasn't done, and this story isn't over. In many ways, I believe it's only just beginning.